It's always interesting to me to see pop culture collide with video games, and today this is no exception. Microsoft has announced a Mandalorian wireless Xbox controller with an Xbox Pro charging stand. This is coming as a set. It was announced today, October 26th, 2020. It will run you $160 US, and it should be coming out soon. I know it says December 31st. That's just a placeholder date. There is no Mandalorian game. Obviously, there's a lot of Star Wars games that we love, and some we don't love as much. But it is definitely known that Mandalorian is an incredibly popular show, and Star Wars an incredibly popular franchise. So it would make sense to me that Star Wars is going to be getting some love with a Mandalorian controller. And this thing looks really, really, really good. Couple things to draw to your attention. Obviously, the color scheme, very symbolic of that, charred, scratched, used up Mandalorian armor. But it doesn't just really apply to the Mandalorian as much as I think just overall. You look at the Star Wars future where things just aren't as pretty. They've been used. It's a lot of wear and tear if you're a rebel. These things are not pristine and perfect like in a Star Trek universe. This is definitely weathered and used. And I love that they've really highlighted that with a lot of scoring and scratching and tarnish on this otherwise really, really pristine, vibrant controller. You could tell it just doesn't have the same sheen as once it once started. It's definitely been through some stuff. I think they really did a good job of including this kind of X-looking thing. I thought maybe they were trying to replicate his helmet, but he doesn't really have an X on his helmet per se. But I like that exists to really break up the controller into very distinct zones. Each part of the handle is definitely very vibrant, and then the kind of faceplate with the buttons and the control stick definitely kind of is separated from that. And I think it looks really, really good. It definitely prominently features the Mythosaur, which of course is very important to the Mandalorian's lore and legend and his armor, at least towards the end of the first season there. So they got those prominently featured, and it doesn't look overly gaudy. It looks good, and it makes sense. I honestly would argue you probably could get rid of those entirely. You could just have the controller as is, and this could just be a solid piece of material, and I think it would look fine. But the fact that they add them, I don't think takes away. It's definitely not gaudy in the terms of that horrendous Destiny 2 controller that they tried to peddle on us Sony PlayStation fans a long time ago. So I do like that. They took their time to really kind of design a really solid controller. The one thing I hate about the base controller, and I've said this 1,000 times, do not make the vibrant ABXY buttons. Collectors absolutely know what the phase buttons are. We do not need a color matching controller. This is definitely, it calls way too much attention to this part of the controller, and it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't. Those need to be grayed out. They need to be black. They need to be silver. They need to be scored. They are just way too vibrant and pristine for the rest of this controller, which clearly has some significant wear and tear on it. The other thing to point out, obviously, this is not the latest and greatest super fancy redesigned controller because it has no share button. On the back, they did some nice things here. They didn't go over the top, but they did include a nice little faceplate here. Note that this faceplate has to be on if you're going to use this wired piece, or the charging piece, because the way that this works is this is actually a hole that is cut out in the faceplate. I'm sorry, the back plate. There's a hole that is actually cut out, and this makes direct contact to the charging base station. So it slides right in the back here. And this plugs in, so that's how you get it. So it's interesting. I guess you were supposed to be looking at like his orders, the fact that he was, searching for the child, and here's a picture of it. Although really at the time, you want to get into the actually lore buff, he didn't know what he was searching for. He was just told to retrieve a very important package. Ultimately turned out to be the child, but it wasn't really kind of indicated that way at the beginning. So a little interesting choice there, but I'm glad they decided to do something on the back. The one thing I feel like, and we don't really have a very good photo of it here to show you, but I can tell you just by the angles we are seeing, is the 4 top buttons here, the bumpers and the triggers, are just standard kind of glossy black. There was really no attention to detail on any of these, and I feel like that might be a little bit of a misstep as well. Over to the base station, definitely did a good job of breaking up the contour, something that they did not do in the Halo 5 Guardians collector controllers, where it's just one solid piece. I think this gray definitely helps out, but this base station here also has a nice gray as well that kind of breaks up the controller from the stand. You got a really cool picture of the Mandalorian's helmet with his prominent weapons there. I like it. I think that looks really, really sharp with that emblem. I would argue you could have put his emblem here where this diamond piece is, gotten rid of the 2 Mythosaurs, and I think you would have had a little better controller. So, yeah, I mean, I know it sounds like I'm picking on it because I am, and I know they can do better because they can, but it's cool. The question you're going to have to ask yourself, and understand that this is included in this Pro charging stand, this will plug in, this thing is not cheap. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are you willing to invest $160 US on buying a controller that is not compatible for Xbox One X or S new functionality? Obviously it will work, but you are missing that coveted share button, which they have hyped up oh so much. They released a video today talking about the share button functionality and how you press and hold it for a photo or a movie, how easy it is to get your content out to your friends, that sort of thing. If you care about that, then this would not make much sense for you to get. But if you're just a pure collector and this is something that's going to sit on your shelf somewhere, it may be worth investing in. That's kind of up to you. So I will post a link in the description box below to this Microsoft listing. I cannot tell from reading it if this is going to be a Microsoft exclusive. Sometimes these things are, sometimes they only come to 1 or 2 vendors. But as I say with every collector edition, if it's something you think you're interested in, do yourself a big, big favor and pre-order it now. You could always cancel later. But when this is gone, it's gone. And the timing couldn't be better because The Mandalorian Season 2 is launching just a few short days here in the United States. So this is going to be on everybody's mind. So there you have it, a first look of the Mandalorian controller and Pro charging set. Hope you guys found this video informative. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.